Hello, 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 everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple art projects. So I have this pre-traced. It's black. I'm going to tell you why I use Sharpie on it. I don't usually use Sharpie, but I'm going to tell you why as I turn you around and we will get started. I have out a very simple palette. White, baby blue, I think this is winter blue, some brown, some very deep green, evergreen, and some burgundy. So let's get started. This is not a good brush, y'all. I am just using it because I'm going to do the background, and I hate to part with brushes. This brush will never come together again. It will never have a nice, fine chisel edge, which would be this if it were, wet and had paint in it. But I'm just going to use it for my background, and it is fine for that. Every once in a while, I get brave and throw out a couple of yucky brushes. So, I'm going to work my way around my lantern. This I'm going to paint right over. This is why I did this in Sharpie. I love the swirl effect. The Sharpie you'll be able to see through even after I finish my background. So I'm going to pick up both blues on my brush, a corner each, and I'm just going to start doing my background. So this is a combination of winter blue and baby blue, and if I want to add some white to it, I can. And I'm just being very loose with my background, and I'm going right over my swirls. I'm using my wrist, and I'm doing a little bit of a diagonal and a little bit, I'm going to get around here. And now I'll go back to just little diagonal, little crisscross, little messy. We want our background to be a little bit loose and messy. It just gives it a little bit more character. You can do your background any way you want. But when we don't have a solid background, our art tends to be a little bit more unique and vibrant and have a little bit more character to it. You can even add some white to this if you wanted. I might do that. I know my canvas is white. There are people who don't paint on the white. I'm not one of them. But it's up to you. It's your art, your way. We're just getting in these nooks and crannies here and whatever you want to do. Now, I'm not concerned about getting too much on the lantern because the lantern is going to be black and black will cover anything. I'm not concerned with painting over my lines because I will still be able to see them even if you can't. I'm just concerned with getting my entire background covered. So I need a little bit more paint. If you couldn't understand me for a minute, it's because I have a bad habit of putting the brush in my mouth instead of putting it down. I don't know, just a habit of mine. So I'm going to come around here. I'm going to easily cover this, and I'm going back to my slip slap. So right now, I must have had really good coverage. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing, but I think when it dries, I will be able to see my lines. Usually I could see them no problemo. But that might not be the case this time, so we shall see. I'm going to keep going because we have some steps to do before we get there anyway. I could always grab something and retrace them in, or just, freehand it, right? Okay, so there we go. I have my background. I am going to dip into a little bit of white and lighten this up here a little bit. So I'm just taking my white and I'm going across the top on a diagonal. It's mixing with the blue a little bit. So some parts are whiter and some parts are bluer. And I'm just holding the brush ever so gently and adding a little white diagonal streaks to the background. I don't want to overdo it because I like my blue. A little bit more down here. And that's it. It just gives, I feel like these diagonal white streaks over the blue give my painting a little movement. Okay? And I'm going to wash my brush. All right. I'm going to grab my liner. Oh, I didn't put on any black. I'll grab some black. I hope it comes out. Yes, good. Okay. Grab my liner. When I use my liner, I like to give it a nice twirl. And I'm going to start painting in my lantern. Now, when I highlighted or outlined or sharpied my lantern, I only did one line. And that was only keeping it simple. I didn't need to double the line, but I want the metal, whatever it is on my lantern, to be a little bit thicker. So even though I only traced one line, that is just to tell me where it is. When I'm painting them in here, I'm going to make them thicker. This part of the lantern is going to get painted entirely, so I'm just filling this in. But the bars, or the design, the detail of my lantern is a little thicker. So I did one line with my Sharpie, but then when I come back to paint it in, I'm going to thicken them up. I could pick up a bigger brush if I wanted to, but this is a very small area. I can just keep painting it in here with my little liner brush. So if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I have over 400 videos on here. Some are from back in the day. You might get a kick out of them if you decided to watch them. My first few videos, although the painting instruction is good, the general quality is lacking. But that's okay. You can still get something out of all of them. So again, so this was the first line. This is my Sharpie line. I'm going to come down with it, and then I'm just going to come again and thicken it up. Okay? Come across here. I am going to get a bigger brush to do the top part of my lantern. And then I want to do the same thing on the sides. So I've traced over the line. And then I'm going to come out to the outside and I'm going to put a second line and fill that in as well. See, I'm just trying to thicken up. I want my lantern, which is the focal point of this, to really stand out. So I'm just making these, the cage, the design, or whatever it is, my lantern, just a little bit thicker. Okay? I'm going to put that down for a second. I'm going to pick up a little brush because now I want to do this part. And this would be a bit much to be painting in with a liner brush. So I'm going to follow the curves of my lantern. You guys can tell I'm forever moving my art around. I find it easier to move my art than it is to try and move my arm or my shoulder. And so I do not usually paint on an easel unless I'm painting oversized. So this way I can move my art every which way. I keep saying I'm going to get a Lazy Susie, but I don't. Now up here there's a little knob on the top of the lantern. I'm going to use the back of my brush and I'm just going to paint it in with the back of my brush. That to me is the best way to control my brush when I am doing a smaller circle. I noticed that the one side was bumpier. I want them to kind of match. So I went in and made the other side a little bumpier. Now I gotta make this side a little bumpier. Don't get caught in the trap of left, right, left, right, left, right. At some point you just have to be like, okay, that works. All right. And I'm going to rinse my brush. Now I cannot see this line so much. I'm going to use a ruler. I'm going to place it down here. I'm going to eyeball it up. And then I'm going to use my liner brush to come all the way down with the lantern. Okay? Easy peasy. And again, like I did on the top, I'm just going to take my liner and I'm going to thicken up the pole, because that pole is way too thin for this lantern. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to add some highlights to it before we finish. I just want it to be a little bit thicker. Okay, so there we go. All right, now I need a crossbar. I'm going to get my ruler again and put it in here as best I can, as straight as I can. I'm going to get my black paint and I'm going to paint across. Wipe it off. And I'm going to now do the same thing, but this one's going to be even wider because this is where my sign is going to hang. And again, I could get a different brush if I wanted to, but I'm just going to stick with this one. This is a very versatile design that you can change up. All my artwork is for personal use only, but you can paint this, you can change up the background. I'm going to add some greenery and some foliage to it. You can do that as well, and you can make a spring one, or a winter one, or a fall one, whatever you like. Just as long as it's for your art pleasure and not for a small business. And then again, I need a different brush. I want a little knob on the end of here. So I'm going to use the back of my brush and I'm just going to put in a little circular knob at the end there. Okay. Then I'm going to get a drop down and a drop down, and I'm going to use this piece of paper I have here for a makeshift rectangle for a sign. I am all about using the tools you have. So if I have a tracer, I'll use a tracer. If I have a ruler, I'll use a ruler. I mostly eyeball things, but sometimes you want your stuff to be straight. And in this case, I just grabbed this scrappy piece of paper, I folded it a little bit, and there we have a decent rectangle. So I'm going to finish painting in the sides a little bit. And then we're going to let it dry to paint in our sign. If you wanted to make this wood, maybe I could make it wood. Maybe I will go in here and make it like a little faux wood with a black frame. I can always go back and fix the frame after. But before I start working on faux wood or anything else in here, I have to let it dry. And again, don't get caught up in thickening this and thickening that and going back and forth. Do it a couple times, and then at some point you just have to brush this down and be like, okay, good enough. All right, so let me wash my brush. I'm going to get out a little bit of bright yellow, but I'm going to mix it with my white somewhat. And we are going to start doing in our lantern. We want the light in our lantern to be somewhat bright, but not really bright. So I'm picking up some white and I'm toning down my yellow a little bit here. You can make your yellow any color you want. I'm going to come back and I'm ever so carefully going to paint in my lantern with this light yellow color. It gives the illusion that our lantern is lit. If you go out of the lines like I just did, don't worry, you can come back and fix it later with the black. Okay, and then again here. You can always tell when I'm concentrating a little bit because I start to stop talking. Start to stop. Yeah, that's it. I start to stop talking. I stop talking. How's that? Okay. So we painted in our lantern. I'm going to fix the black up there in a little bit. Don't fret. Okay. And then again, I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go back to my liner. No, actually, which brush? Yeah, I'll use my liner. Give it a rinse. And I'm going to pick up a combination of this very dark brown, and then I'm going to swipe it into the green. And I'm just going to come up here, and I'm going to start adding in some berry leaves, or some berry sticks, or some berries, or some twine, not twine, but twigs. There you go, twigs. Okay, when I paint these twigs in, it's a series of Ys, like tree branches. And some are thicker, some are thinner. It's up to you how many you want to have. I don't want it to take over. But, oh, you know what I'm going to try and do? I'm going to make them go around here. So I'm just hopping over. And then sometimes we go around the back. And then sometimes we come across the front. And then we go around the back down to the bottom. We need to bring this one up and come from back there a little bit. That's it. And then I'm just going to put little ones off here. some of the green, some of the brown, and I'm just going in. If I have too much green, then I'll pick up some brown. If I have too much brown, then I pick up some green. And I'm just adding in these little branches that we're going to come back and put some berries on. It is winter. Not too much is growing. And we just have these branches with some berries. And I'm going to wash my brush again. And I'm going to, first I want to fix this part because this doesn't match. Come down here with this a little bit wider. Just a little bit. Okay, then I want to fix this and this and this. Okay, so now we're good. Oops. I'm going to pick up some fresh white, and I want to add some nice white in here so our glass looks a little shiny up top. It's very bright and vibrant from our lantern. Okay, see that? It's got a little bit of a glow to it. And wash my brush again. And now while I wait for the rest of my painting to dry, I'm going to get my liner brush. I'm going to use the back of my brush, and I'm just going to start putting in some of these berries. To put as many or as few as you want. They're just quite random. There's just something about this burgundy that really pops against this blue. And again, you can put as many or as few of these as you want. They're just simple dots to make these faux berries on our branches. Now I'm still going to use this same brush, end, whatever, but now this time I'm not making a lot of pressure because I want these, as I work my way down and on this vine, to be a little bit smaller. So some are still big, but some are just kind of small in here. And I'm just lightly touching. Since this is a vine, we'll add them around. Even where it wraps around a little bit. And I'm just lightly touching. Plus, as I do these, when you dip, you can usually get, I usually get about 3 dots out of one dip, but as I want the dots smaller, I just keep going until they get really, really tiny towards the end as I run out of paint. Okay, so there we go for that. Don't need that brush. Now I'm going to start working. I don't know, I got a little red on there somehow. I'm going to start working on my sign. So I'm going to go into, that's too big. I guess I'll use this one. I'm going to dry it off. I'm going to start with my brown, and I'm just going to start filling in this rectangle. This is while I wait for the rest of my elements or my painting to dry. I can get my heat gun or I can get my blow dryer, but it's just as easy to skip around. Keep you guys moving. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. There are over 400 different video tutorials on there. Some long, some short, ceramics, glass, canvas, tote bags, you name it. So I did the brown, and now I'm going back in here with some white, and I'm doing the white on the chisel edge because I want it to look a little bit rustic, faux woodish. So some of the white is blending in. Some of it is nice. I'm going to come over here and pick up some black and do the same thing with the black. Very, very light touch. Very light touch. I got my pointer finger hanging out, and I'm hardly touching the canvas. Okay? And again, I'm going to wash the brush. I'm going to go back to my liner. I'm basically using two brushes about this 1/2 inch flat, and then I use this wonky brush for the outline. I'm going to get some white, and I'm just going to start adding in a little bit of highlight. Again, I'm working so as my area is dry, I can keep working on my art and not get held up. As I move along, I'm going to add a little bit of white to my branches. Not too much, just want a little bit of highlight, just so they pop. Actually, as I go and it picks up some of the paint, the white isn't as vibrant, and that's okay. Do the same thing here, little bit of pop. Just a few of the branches, not as many, coming around. Just a simple design, something you can put on cards. Okay, just real simple. I think I want to add another branch up here though. I think the branch going up like that needs a friend. So I'm just going to come back in here with my green and my brown and fill in some of this area here with a few more branches. And again, I'm using a mixture of this evergreen and I think it's real brown. That's a dark brown. You can use any dark brown that you like. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. Have these cross over a little bit. Get some green. Yeah, I like that little bit fuller in there. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my burgundy and go in here and add. And again, now this time I want my dots bigger, so I'm only doing 2 to 3 dots every time I dip. Below, I kept going 4, 5, 6 because I wanted them to be tiny. So I didn't mind as they got smaller. So I ran out of paint to make the dots or the berries smaller. Okay. And again, I'm just going to grab a little bit of white and go back in here and highlight some of the branches. Do not have to be complete. Do not have to be perfect. Just adding little highlight. I will probably go back, and I don't know if I'm going to do it here. I will probably go back when they dry and add little highlights to each of these berries too. I know it sounds crazy, right? I will either use my liner brush, or I have a couple of tools. One tool I believe I'm missing. I don't know where it is. It's called the Kiss tool. I haven't seen it in a while, but if you have one, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I have this stylist. It has a bigger bowl on the top and a littler one on the bottom. Oh, here we go, this way. They're not much different. And I will dip this in the paint and put a little white dot on each of my berries, but they have to dry. And I'm gonna have to look for my Kiss tool. Okay, anyway, wash my brush. All right. Now I am going to get my dryer. So, talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Because I want to be able to put in my curly cues for my, the rest of my irons. Let me turn you back up. So, this is a really fun lantern painting. Got a little burgundy up here. Let me get that off. Give it a try. Again, these are for personal use only, but feel free to be inspired, make it your own. I love sharing my art. I love helping others become a little creative. I feel that art can be very healing if you're struggling with something. And so if I can help that by providing these videos and these tutorials and me, I will certainly do it. I'm not really doing anything. There was a couple of spots where I splattered some paint. I'm just kind of fixing that while I'm drying the rest of it here. Don't worry, you're not missing anything. It's all good. Oh, but I am full of paint. All right, I think that's good. So I had a couple of little splatters that I wanted to fix. I'll show you guys. You might not be able to see it, but I have a little tiny bit. I had a dot of the burgundy in there. So I'm just going to get my liner brush. I'm going to go back to my light yellow where I mixed it with the white and the yellow. I'm just going to go over it. There it is. Fixed. Voila. Okay. Now, back to my black. So I want my iron to be in front and in back of my berries. Okay? So I am just coming around. I can see my line in there. I'm just going a little bit at a time, and I'm picking up fresh black paint every single time. A liner brush does not hold a lot of paint. It's not meant for, you know, backgrounds and color blocking. So in order to be successful, you need to pick up paint about every inch. Let me fix that a little bit. And there we go. So how cute is that? Oh my goodness, goodness. So cute. So now you can take this, you can put your name on it, you can put your house number on it, you can do, you can write welcome, you can write happy holidays, you can write whatever you want on there. I'm just fixing this a little bit. There we go. So if you wanted to put your last name on there, you could. If you wanted to put your street number on there, you could. If you wanted to just put welcome. If you want to put go away, you could. Your art, your way, totally fine. I'm just taking, I like my black to be nice and crisp and sharp. And what happens in these canvases sometimes, when you're painting, the weave of the canvas has little tiny air bubbles. And you think you painted something, and then you go back and you have these white spots. It is the brand of canvas. I buy inexpensive canvases because I go through them like crazy. I'm sure if I spent more money on my canvases, I wouldn't have so many of these little air bubbles. And if it wasn't for the fact that it's black, I wouldn't even bother. But I like my black to be nice and vibrant. So let me turn you guys around. And here we go. It's my little simple lantern with some winter berries and a sign that I don't know what I'm going to put on mine yet. Drop it in the comments. So thank you very much. If you are not following me on the YouTube, please do. And I will see you soon. Thank you, everyone.